With the recent release of episodes 5 and 6 of Dispatch, I thought now would actually be a perfect time for me to start talking about some theories I had for the next upcoming episodes, episodes 7 and 8. Now, some of them you might have already heard about, and some of them might have been brought up from my own mind and completely delusional. Also, you may be wondering, 1, why am I not wearing my glasses? 2, didn't I say that the next video was going to be a Skylanders video? And I don't know what the third one is, but I feel like there should be a 3. Well, the glasses is just because I'm testing something. You see, I've got a whole complete different setup, and there's still Skylanders behind me from the video I was originally going to do. I've had to move it a little further back in my schedule as my computer decided now would be a great time to mess up and, force me to restart it, meaning I have to re-edit the whole file all over again from the start. But it's fine. So instead, I'm just going to do the short video for this week, and then I'll release the Skylanders video next week. Back on topic though, Dispatch. Of course, there's going to be spoilers for the more recent episodes that have come out in this video, so if you don't want to be spoiled, make sure you go play the game up to the end of episode 6, and then come back here. Or if you don't want to be spoiled at all, then just ignore the video, I guess. So the first theory that a lot of people have pointed out, and at this point I'm pretty sure it's just factual, is that Invisigal has some form of allegiance with Shroud, be it either a previous one or a continued one. Now, it's a bit iffy on what's what, but I will run you through the evidence we currently have. During the start of the game, when Robert is using his Mecha Man suit to hunt down Shroud, the Mecha Man suit gets hung up and it's practically going to be destroyed by Shroud when Toxic Man, the one that's working with Shroud, tells someone to get out of there. Quoting, he calls them babe as well. That implies that they might be female in gender identity. And so it's someone that we can't see who's potentially female, who is on the back of the Mecha Man suit and manages to put a bomb on there without us noticing. Even we see the back of the Mecha Man suit when the shields are up, and they would have to be under the shields to put the bomb on there in the first place, and we can't see them. So obviously it probably has to be Invisigal. Invisigal had to have been the one that put it there. Now, it even makes sense for timing as well, because when we go to SDN, we learned a few months ago, Invisigal started working for SDN as long as they didn't question her past. And the reason for that is because she either quit working for Shroud and felt bad about blowing up the Mecha Man suit, so she started working at SDN to kind of rehabilitate herself, or alternatively, Shroud had commanded her to start working at SDN. I don't know how Shroud would have thought ahead of Mecha Man surviving his initial explosion and being put into a coma and then being put to work at SDN, but I actually do have some kind of theory for that as well. I'll get to it though. And then later on in the game, she is shown to have allegiance with villains of some kind. For instance, in the more recent episodes, during a confrontation in episode 5, I believe, she's picked up by a villain and held there, and he goes, some people have some words to talk to you about, or something along the lines of that. And he works for the Red Ring Gang along with a bunch of the other villains in the bar. And then the Red Ring Gang obviously is heavily connected to Shroud as well, so again, that makes another connection. Another thing that many people might not be aware of, as it's more recent, is that when attempting to unlock the vault, the safe that's in the ship, where the Astral Pulse is. Obviously, if Robert succeeds, the safe is open. She can get the Astral Pulse. But if Robert fails, the safe is still open somehow, even though it was locked a minute ago. At least we're assuming that it was locked because Invisigal assumed it was locked as well. So she opened it, either happenstance thinking it was unlocked by Robert, or she already knew how to unlock it and Robert was just unlocking it for literally no reason. And how did she unlock the thing? She can't pass through walls when she's invisible. She's just invisible, right? So mayhaps she knew the code already. Now, here's the thing, is we still don't really know if she is currently working with Shroud or she had previously worked with Shroud. Maybe she knew the code from when she used to work with Shroud, or maybe Shroud told her the code so she can unlock the safe. But that would still not make sense as to why she got jumped by Shroud when she was leaving, unless Shroud knew that she was going to double cross him and bring the Astral Pulse to Robert instead. Now, I believe, long term, I think she did disconnect herself from Shroud, right? She quit working with him, but she still knows all this stuff about Shroud, all of his criminal enterprises, and that's why she has a perk that allows her to kind of get more info on crimes before they happen, right? Or at least it had some kind of relation to that. I do believe that she still has the best interests for Robert at heart, and that she wouldn't hurt him, and, well, at least not intentionally hurt him, which is why she wanted to get the astral pulse, which is why she had the whole housewarming party as well. But that's like most definitely a thing. It's less theory, more proof. It's just we don't know the exact details to it. The theory is more about whether or not she's continuing to work for him as a spy, or she just previously worked for him and is currently using her connections that she still currently has from previously working to help the SDN center. But now we're going to actually get into the crackhead theories, which I know that a lot of Blonde Blazer fans are going to probably berate me, but you just have to listen, okay? You just have to listen. So, weirdly enough, if Shroud were to have sent Invisigal to SDN to make her an undercover spy, he would have done that as soon as Mecha Man got put into a coma and was confirmed to still be alive. So, why would he do that? How would he know that Robert would start working at SDN? And the only person that really interacts with us to get us to work at SDN is a certain someone we may know. Blonde Blazer. Now, she does say that it was not only her, but also her work colleague, which suggested that you work there, but she didn't definitively say it was Chase. Maybe her work colleague wasn't even an SDN work colleague. Maybe she had connections with Shroud, and Shroud told her, listen, I want to deal with Mecha Man once and for all. You either get him to outright retire, or get him to turn to an evil side, or just, get him offed in some kind of degree. And also, I still want the astral pulse. The only one who could really know more about the astral pulse is Robert and some people who work at the SDN center. The only way you can get access to Robert's Mecha Man suit is if you were to promise to repair it at the SDN center. Now, I'm not suggesting that everyone else in connection to Blonde Blazer knows about this whole plan. I believe that they were just told, hey, we're going to fix Mecha Man's suit, he's going to work here, and it'll be a benefit for him and for us, right? I don't think they were ever told that the blueprints that they were taking of the Mecha Man suit and the designs for the Astral Pulse were being handed over to Shroud. Now, trailing back to Blonde Blazer, which was, the whole topic of this theory, she shows a lot of kindness to Robert, which makes sense because she seems to have some interest in him. But there's underlying things that kind of make you wary of her. For instance, she doesn't help a dude off the roof. First thing, after you first meet her, she throws a dude onto the roof, and the police or whatever come over, fire and safety and all that. They come over and she points out, yeah, there's a dude on the roof, you can get him up there. I don't know why she didn't spend that extra minute to just kind of fly up there, pick him up, put him back down. That's a small thing though. You can't really judge her based off of that, but you can judge her for allowing Mecha Man / Robert to kiss her. It was still weird that she let Robert kiss her, and then she was flustered about it and said it was unprofessional, but she didn't say that she was in a relationship with someone already for whatever reason, as she is actually in a relationship with Phenomenon at the time that Robert kisses her. And while you could be like, it was a sudden thing, that's fine. Yes, that's fine. It's fine for her to have been surprised by the kiss and all that, but it was weirder that she didn't point out her previous relationship at the time. And to be fair, it was quick, so adrenaline, all that, you could probably brush that aside a little bit. But then it's her not proceeding to tell Robert about it at all until literally last moment, and essentially Phenomenon tells you, right? And that's another thing, is that Phenomenon, the reason that she later breaks up with Phenomenon is because she sees him as he's too alien. He doesn't act human enough. He doesn't understand what it's like to be human. And that's reasonable. But then you think about it, and she knows, she keeps calling him an alien. She never gives him a chance or tries to show him the world of being normal outside of just going to dinner together. He thinks that's just a custom. Even on his planet, he would eat food. Superheroes eat food like that as well. She always treated him like the alien that he genetically is, but she never treated him like a human exactly, because she would just expect him to start acting like a human. For instance, if you were to take Phenomenon as a replacement for whoever you fired, then he actually starts to become more human. You see it in cutscenes, his stats literally lower and start evening out because he's becoming more human. He's gaining more intelligence, more charisma. He's becoming normal because you're treating him like a human, unlike what Blonde Blazer did. She kept treating him like an alien, because that's just what she saw of him. Again, that does not necessarily mean she's evil, it just means that she hadn't thought about that too much. Another thing is that she forces you to fire someone from a rehabilitation standing. That is, why? Why are you doing that? That's like getting someone who's an ex-smoker, right? And they go to this conference or whatever with all these other ex-smokers, and to try and get all these people to continue not smoking, you kick one of them out. and be like, oh, if you smoke at all, I'll kick you out of this thing. That's not a benefit. That's threatening. Why would you do that? To a rehabilitative state, right? That is a horrible way of thinking. So I don't trust Blonde Blazer in that sense. That's the thing that really tipped me when it came to Blonde Blazer. And of course, there's the other theory that people have been throwing around, is that she is actually the daughter of Shroud. Now, the reason they point that out is because while she does have blonde hair and blue eyes, it's later revealed that she's actually a brunette with blue eyes. Now, I don't know exactly how that works, if that little gem device on her chest does it or not. I haven't gone through her line for romance. I went through the Invisigal line, but I'm assuming that that gemstone is what helps hide her identity. Now, whether it's technical or if it's magical, I do not know. I'm going to assume it's technical to help support my theory. Editor Val here. I looked at the scene on YouTube, and it is definitely not technological unless it's being really fancy about it. It looks like a magical girl transformation. And yeah, so it's more or less magical. I'm still going to let myself talk about it, the point that he was making, but it's probably not technological. So yeah. So who would be able to design technology like that? Royd probably could, realistically. But, you know, she also probably has a father who's really tech-intuitive, is the best way I can explain it, who could also make her that kind of device to hide her brown hair. And her real name's Mandy, but we never learn her last name. So her father could be Elliot Connors. She might have a full name of Mandy Connors. Because if she has that full name of Mandy Connors, that means she's the daughter of Shroud. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean she supports him, right? He could have broken out of prison and her number one goal initially was just, let's get him back into prison, I don't trust him. Or she could be a daddy's girl. I don't know how to explain it. Her relationship there, it's never explained because, again, this is a theory. There's like little to nothing other than just hair color and hair and eye color that we're working off with here. And there was also no canonical daughter of Elliot unless he hid the child. Now, my theory is Elliot obviously wants the Astral Pulse to do something villainous. And he tried to get Mecha Man to join him initially, but Mecha Man obviously was like, you guys are villains. Also, you killed my father specifically, so I don't have full trust in you. And so after Shroud learns that he survived and has knowledge and the old Mecha Man suit, which could potentially help him recreate the Astral Pulse that he thought he lost when they blew up the suit, he goes, well, my daughter, she works at SDN. And there's an ex-villain there who was also rehabilitated, Royd. Now, I think Royd is actually okay. I don't think Royd is actually doing anything evil. I think he's just kind of being puppeted by Blonde Blazer, if this theory is correct. Royd makes blueprints alongside Robert and make rough estimations on how to make an Astral Pulse. And whilst they never really get to being able to make one, now Blonde Blazer has all these blueprints and stuff that she could hand over to Shroud, who can then try to either recreate the Astral Pulse or the mecha suit in general. And again, that is a wild idea, is that Blonde Blazer has some kind of connection to Shroud. Again, not much in the way of supporting it, understandably, but it feels like it would make sense to some extent as well. So why are they hiding his voice as well? Well, I have another running theory. The Shroud that we see walking around isn't actually Shroud. He might be a robot, or it might be someone else wearing a Shroud costume, because we never even hear Shroud's voice. Why would Elliot Connors not go out and do these things physically? He could technically enhance himself cybernetically to do all these things as well, which is why my theory is a little bit of a crackhead theory. I think that mayhaps Elliot had given himself cybernetic enhancements to walk around, or he's using a robot to do it all. But it wouldn't be out of line to suggest that mayhaps he's using someone as kind of like the physical puppet to get through all of this, because it would make sense for him to be able to be at that warehouse. That was one of his base of operations, and that might have been the real Shroud. But I think the Shroud that pops up and deals with Invisigal isn't actually Shroud, like, physically. Maybe they were given directions from Shroud to go there, but I think that Shroud, he would be roughly, from my estimations, he would be either in his late 40s or early 50s during the game. Now, whilst people can still move around and live their lives at that age, I imagine that they wouldn't be messing with Invisigal or somehow getting through an entire boatload of villains. But to be fair, half the villains on the boat were also actually a part of the Red Ring gang, and in turn a part of Shroud's gang. That's another thing I should probably talk about, is Blonde Blazer was really adamant on not attacking the boat that the Astral Pulse is on until after it would have been attacked. She wanted to do it the next day after and not even have the SDN center deal with it. She wanted a whole other department to deal with the boat. But Invisigal, who would have probably had an in on everything, including whether or not Shroud was going to attack it that night, said, no, we gotta do this tonight. I can't explain why, but we have to do this tonight. So if Blonde Blazer was aware of her father's goals and wanted him to succeed, she would probably be holding Robert and Invisigal and everyone back that she can and trying getting them to not go there, because for one, they'd probably, be killed, and for two, it might ruin Shroud's plans. And alternatively, maybe Shroud wasn't even actually going to hit it that night. He was going to leave it for another night, and that's also why Blonde Blazer said to leave it as well. But then Blonde Blazer goes, Invisigal is definitely on her way there to deal with it. I'm going to tell my father. And then she tells her father, and he goes, yep, we'll send someone down there. We'll make it known to all these supervillains that there is a thing here that's super powerful that even I want, and they all swarm there, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of clutching at straws here to make my theory sound more understandable. So yes, I believe that Invisigal had some kind of connection, and that Blonde Blazer also has some kind of connection, and that's why they're both your romantic interests, because you need to have a betrayal arc at some point in the story, whether you're betrayed by Blonde Blazer or by Invisigal. And it wouldn't be betrayed in that very moment, it would just be betrayed of them even having this interaction with the character. Like, oh yeah, so Invisigal worked for Shroud. She doesn't anymore, but she used to. She's the one who blew up your suit. And then Robert would go, what the hell? I trusted you, blah, 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 and you didn't tell me about this. And then Blonde Blazer, it's like, well, I thought I trusted you, but you're the daughter of the dude who not only killed my father, but also helped blow up my suit. I think I've lost my trust in you, which would make sense for both of them. And since they're both love interests, blah, 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 it makes sense. Eventually, you're probably going to have to pick between the two, whether it be by just general allegiance, you stand beside Invisigal or you stand beside Blonde Blazer, or you might have to save one specifically and the other one, gets offed or has something else happen to them, which they then blame Robert about. There's also this last theory I wanted to talk about, and that is about the finale of episode 6, in which Chase more or less sacrifices himself to save Invisigal. Now, I don't think Chase is dead, and you might be going, he used his power, he said if he uses his power, he might cark it. That's understandable, and it still might make sense, but I want to explain something to you. He says that when he uses his power, he ages about 50 times that the regular person does, and he only used it for about 20 seconds to go from the apartment to the boat and then to a park. It only took him 20 seconds, and we're assuming he's running at full speed, because that's also another thing we have to take into account, whether or not that 50 times multiplier is based off of just his usual superhero running speed, or if it's adjusted depending on if he's running really slow at super speed or really fast at super speed. Maybe it's enhanced by 500 rather than 50 if he's going full bolt across the city. But we're just going to say it's 50 times for the sake of what we know. So he only ran for about 20 seconds. Doing the math on that, 20 seconds times 50 comes out to about 16 minutes. I don't think Chase was going to cark it in the next 16 minutes. I don't think aging 16 minutes would have ended him. But I do think that he's an old man, right? Running at super speed will get your heart pumping even at a superhuman pace. And he's also carrying Invisigal at the same time while doing this. That's going to wear him down extensively. So whilst there is still a chance that he had passed away, not from the super aging, but because his body just wasn't ready to use his power anymore, there's also a chance that he's just, sore after doing that. An old man running at that speed or doing anything extensive like that, he's biologically old, but he's like 39 actually. He just looks 70. But any old person doing that, they're going to be sore. Their bones are going to be sore. They're old. So yeah, they're going to be tired and maybe even pass out. So I believe we're going to see in the next episode that Chase is on a form of life support, or he is recovering very slowly. And that will be a cause for him to outright just retire from SDN and from all the superhero business, and then he might tell Robert a little bit more, because he was very defensive about saying that Invisigal was a thief and all that, and we don't know exactly why he didn't like Invisigal like that, why he was so against criminals, but it's specifically Invisigal. He's more okay with the rest of the Z-Team, it's just Invisigal he has an issue with. So he must know about her past and where she came from, but she told no one supposedly about that. She might have only told Blonde Blazer. But why would Blonde Blazer tell anyone else? Unless she's trying to rile people up. So I believe that Chase learnt of Invisigal's past via Blonde Blazer, and that's why he's so defensive against her, because he thinks that she could still be working for Shroud. You know, the big enemy here, but he can't outright say it because of whatever reason that Blonde Blazer might have told him about. You see, I am still falling back on Blonde Blazer being not the big bad and manipulative, but having some big turn where she's shown that she has some connection to Shroud and that she's done some things that she would regret. Because we already know Invisigal's got something going on like that, but it would make sense for them to do it for both the love interests, so then they can keep the same story beats whilst also being able to change the outcome that you get. Because no matter what, story beats still happen. You will always have a dance with someone at the housewarming party. It's just depending on your actions, whether it'll be Blonde Blazer or Invisigal. And, you know, with that kind of stylization of the game creation in mind, it would make sense that at some point, someone's meant to double cross you, or you learn that someone has been working with Shroud. And the only two people you're close enough to for that to hurt Robert as much is Invisigal and Blonde Blazer. So yeah, those are my rough theories. Not a lot of proof towards the Blonde Blazer one, and there's a decent amount of proof towards the Invisigal one. But, you know, you set it up for this big reveal of being Invisigal, it might make sense if they were to suddenly flip the coin on you and said it was Blonde Blazer instead. Now again, Blonde Blazer plans, don't start hamming me. She could have a redemption arc within the final few episodes and go like, I was doing it because he's my father, and blah, 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 and other things like that, right? I'm just saying that it doesn't look good for her with what my theory thinks. But again, these are all theories. These are not the truth, right? These are just rambles within my head that I was thinking of whilst I was streaming the game, which, by the way, I will be streaming the final 2 episodes when they come out, like as soon as they come out, so I will be live streaming them almost immediately after they drop, okay? I don't think my theories will come out as true. I think that mayhaps the only one that will actually line up might be the Invisigal one and the Chase one. The Blonde Blazer theory with Shroud and all that, very vague, very confusing. Not a lot of evidence really pointing towards it as well. Also, forgive me if a lot of my editing and audio and lighting is a little odd and different. I recently got these, big thanks to my partner for buying these for me, but I'm still learning how to use them. For instance, the next video, proper video you see uploaded will have very odd sounding audio because I kind of set it up funny, and the lighting's going to be all goofy because I had set all this up. But yeah, I'll see you all next week. Maybe even in the middle of the week when the next 2 episodes come out. I'm pretty hyped for it. Big thanks to the ad hoc team for being able to make a game like this exist. It is literally right up my alley for both my interests of superheroes and Telltale-like games. Admittedly, I haven't been able to experience it in its full glory since I'm streaming it. I need to ensure that it doesn't have the copyrighted audio and you know, I'm not going to see a toxic weenie on screen while streaming. Although I think it was episode 4, the start of episode 4, really threw me off, really scared the living crap out of me while I was streaming. Invisigal probably have a big reveal about her working with Shroud and knowing his secrets. Blonde Blazer might potentially have a reveal of having worked with Shroud, whether it be because of a biological relation or not. Oh, and of course the survival of Chase, which I'm really hoping is true. I would hate for Chase to have passed because of his sacrifice, and I'm hoping that because of that sacrifice, Invisigal will choose to do all the right things in episodes 7 and 8, because that man hated her like 5 minutes ago and is now saving her life. So she better be happy about that. But yeah, I don't know how much longer these road things can record for, and I don't have much time left on my camera either. So again, I'll see you all next week and in the middle of the week, and yeah. And as always, not sponsored. Big thanks to my supporters, Tea and a Buttercup, Crystal Kensbit, Jasmine Wilson, and Wilberfly.